and welcome to the Joie Miller Podcast. I'm so excited for you to join us this week. We are going to talk about being intentional with our time, creating intentional routines to set you up for success. Have you ever found yourself feeling like you're trying to balance it all, especially as women? We have a lot of plates to spin. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it could leave us frustrating thinking there's just not enough hours in the day. But here's the thing. We all have the same 24 hours, and there is a way to manage your life to get the most out of those minutes, those hours that God has given us every day. So we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about time and intentional routines. You know, I love the Proverbs 31 woman. It says that she is clothed with strength and dignity and can laugh at the days to come. Proverbs 31 paints a picture of this woman who is just killing it at life. She's just productive. She's intentional with her time. She's diligent. She just seems to have it all together. And this is such a great picture for us. It's such a great example of how we can be intentional in every area of our lives, that we can live our lives with intentionality, that we don't just feel like we're spinning our wheels constantly. I remember when my children were small, I would often be frustrated because I could feel the call of God upon my life, and I felt like I was in a season where I was taking care of them, which was also part of the calling. But I knew I was called to preach and teach the gospel, and I felt like there wasn't any time to invest into that calling. That I was busy all day, but I wasn't productive. And even though I love taking care of my kids and pouring into them, I wished there was just a few moments where I could carve out time to study the Word of God. I remember there were seasons where I didn't even have time to read my Bible. I would watch Veggie Tales and get spiritual insight from Bob the Tomato. But you know, I think back and think, what would my life have looked like if I could have structured my life to even have an hour where I was able to devote to my calling, to study and to write and all of those things. And so I get the frustration that you might feel when you're in a season that is just requires a lot of you, especially as moms. I mean, we're keeping other humans alive, yet still being true to the future version of yourself and the callings and the giftings that you feel inside of you. Or maybe you're just like, hey, my life is just chaotic and I want to bring some order to my life. Talking about the revival of responsibility this season on the podcast is taking responsibility over our time, to say, I understand that every day God has given me is a gift, and it's my responsibility to order and to steward my life in a way to maximize that. Our schedules, our routines, our structures can either frustrate the grace of God that's upon our lives in a season, or it can work with and support that grace that God wants to do in our lives. And so it's taking that responsibility. So we're talking today about time, creating structures, and we're looking at that Proverbs 30 woman as an example. She's a model of wisdom, diligence, balance, but I don't want you to get this wrong if you're listening today. She is not our example of perfection. She is an example of a purpose-driven woman who structures her life around faith. But the point is this: we can't be perfect. So if perfect is your goal, you're probably not going to hit it, but progress is what we're aiming for today. Progress in creating times and structures to serve the purposes of God in our lives. Okay, let's talk about some keys to time management and routine. These are keys, like I said, that I wish I would have instilled in my life decades earlier, but nonetheless, they have been the single most key to seeing supernatural growth in my life, even to this day. When my kids were a little bit younger and now as they're teenagers, you would think, hey, you can lay off a little bit. Do you have to get up so early? They're off at school all day. No, I'm telling you, if you create the structure, God will fill you and use you in such a way that it only gets like more and more and more. You become more productive, more intentional with your time. You get more done during the day. And so I want to talk to you about some of these traits to help you structure and manage your routines and your time. So number one would be this: intentional planning. Be intentional with your planning. I have a planner. Actually, I created a planner. I love planners so much. And I'm so intentional with my daily schedule. So we have to be intentional in the sense of I have my month laid out, I have my week laid out, I have my days planned out. And within my day, I pretty much have the hourly laid out. Now, I understand maybe you're in a season where it's not so predictable, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you're like, yeah, my day is blank. It's one thing. It's cleaning the house and taking care of the kids. You can even create structures and systems inside of that. So wherever you're at in life, whatever season you're in, don't disqualify yourself from point number one, which is intentional planning. This Proverbs 31, it says, she gets up while it's still night out. And she understands that if she wants to be productive and intentional, it's gonna cost her something. And I say that lightly because if you have a small baby, I also remember seasons of my life where I was so tired that I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even stay awake. I remember looking at my dog who was napping, and I was there with a baby, and I was like, I'm so jealous of this dog right now. I mean, when you're jealous of a dog sleeping, how many of you know, like, you're tired? And so I understand that, and there's grace for different seasons. But this woman, she was intentional. She thought, you know what, if I can either continue to be frustrated that I don't have enough time to do the important things in my life, or I can take responsibility and be intentional to get up a little bit early while it's still dark out. Let's talk about that for a second, because there is power in getting up a little bit earlier. There is power in your morning routine. And this changed my life. If you're listening, the power of a morning routine. So maybe you don't like to get up early. Start by just like 15 minutes, setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier, and start utilizing your morning. Put your morning to work. When I get up early, I know that time is my time. It's time to read. It's time to pray. It's time to get my coffee. It's time to think. It's time to strategize, to do some of my most creative projects that would get pushed off because of the busyness of the day. It's in that time that I can be selfish with. And so I would highly recommend, if you want to be intentional with your routines and start time management routines, analyze what time you get up in the morning. If your schedule allows for it, meaning the demands of life with little babies, I would say this: make sure you're getting to bed early, but then get up a little bit earlier, because that is your time to be intentional. That's your time to be productive and to start leading your life. It's in the morning that I look over my schedule for the day, and I see what I've already marked is a priority in my day. I don't let my day tell me what's important. I've then directed my day. I start my day and I put in the first things first. How many of you know that if you put off the important things, you will never get to them, because the little things will eat up your time? So setting that morning routine, doing things that you enjoy in the morning as a motivation, having maybe your favorite cup of coffee, waiting for you, your favorite cup to pour that coffee in. Maybe it's lighting a candle, whatever it is that motivates you in the morning, start doing it, even if it's 15 minutes earlier. As you're listening to the podcast today, I want to announce to you our first ever collective. This is a program, a mentorship program, where I come alongside of you and I help you to get your life in order. Our first collective is called Success CEO. It's all about time management, creating goals and vision for your life. And I am so excited to come alongside of you, to be your cheerleader, to be your coach, to see you make progress like never before. Go to joiemiller.co, check out the collective. Let me help you walk in your best year yet. So be intentional in your planning and start your intentional planning with your alarm clock in the morning. Point number 2 would be this. Proverbs 31 woman, she sets about her work vigorously and her arms are strong for the task. She takes her responsibilities seriously. And I would even say this, she views her responsibilities as unto God. That means that she knows that whatever she sets her hand to, she's honoring God through it. Now, this is really important because if you look at your responsibilities, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or maybe you're a working mom, and trust me, either way, the responsibilities don't diminish. We have responsibilities in every season of our life, whatever it looks like. But maybe it's doing laundry and you're thinking, that's not important. I don't want a time block for laundry. I don't like the fact that I have to do laundry. Well, if you look at it like you're just washing and drying and folding clothes, then you're not going to find much value in it. If you look at the time that you're doing laundry as honoring God, then you're like, I'm going to work diligently at this. I'm going to be intentional. It's my responsibility to wash those clothes, to get them in the dryer, to set up systems in my household so that everybody has what they need, so that I'm taking responsibility to eliminate frustration when everyone's trying to get out of the house in the morning and no one can find socks and they're slamming doors and whatever. I see what I'm doing is creating peace and order in my home. I'm honoring God through bringing peace to my home, that I'm believing that our house is going to be a house strife-free, a place of relaxation. And when I do the laundry every day, I'm doing it to sow into that. What are you doing? You're taking your responsibilities seriously before God, raising that child. Putting a structure or a schedule even to your small children. You might say, they don't understand what I'm saying when I'm reading the Bible to them. No, put that baby in your lap, pray over that baby, read a Bible scripture, start to schedule or time block your time, even with a young child. You'll see that when you take your time seriously, when you take your responsibilities seriously, God will bring a fresh perspective and a fresh purpose into your life. She found an importance in that which she did. Taking your responsibilities seriously means that you take them as important. You focus on them, whether it's big or small. Point number 3, that Proverbs 31 woman, she watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. I love this verse. Talk about a revival of responsibility. She watches over the affairs of her household. What does that mean? She doesn't just let it be like chaos. She governs. One of the things that God has called you to do as a woman over your household is to govern it. Deborah in the Bible, it says that she was a mother over Israel. What did she do? She was a judge and she was a prophetess. She spoke life. She was a prophetess. And then she governed. She set things into order. And I believe that's one of the anointings on us as women, is to set things in order in our home. And this woman, she watched closely over the affairs of her household. What does that mean? She was spiritually perceptive. If something was out of order, she didn't wait for it just to accidentally change. She took responsibility to steward that way that change could happen in that area of her life. She was proactive. She avoided wasting time. She didn't eat, the second half of that verse, she didn't eat the bread of idleness. Think about that. What are the things that rob us of productivity? Idleness. Instead of being productive, many times we're scrolling on our phone, or we're on social media, or we get caught into watching a TV show. Be productive. Set boundaries around your time. Maybe you don't turn on the TV until a certain time in your day. Time blocking, scheduling that out. Whenever you have the temptation to scroll on social media, put your phone away and say, I'm going to devote my time to things that are productive, things that I take seriously in my life that can bring change. Maybe you're frustrated with your household chores and you're like, I can't ever get to cleaning my kitchen. Well, put the phone away and you'll be surprised, if you put boundaries around things like social media, how much quicker you get things accomplished. It's such a lie. When we're sucked into TV, social media, reading, whatever that is, a fiction book, or it's an area of escapism that you're saying, I'm not showing up. I'm not going to give my best. Not that it's a sin to do those things, but if it gets out of control or starts to eat large chunks of your time, You have to say, am I trying to escape from my reality? Am I trying to divert my responsibilities because I don't want to show up by escaping into this world of social media or TV or a fiction novel or whatever that is to get out of my responsibilities? Set boundaries around those things. It's okay to enjoy them in moderation, all things in moderation. But if they're sucking the life out of you, if they're wasting your time, you have to set boundaries around those things to stay on track and to stay focused. So make sure that you're looking at your life and saying, what areas do I need to watch over, get into alignment? It's like your car. Sometimes you just have to realign in your life. And don't fall into the myth of perfectionism. Don't fall into the idea that taking responsibility means that I have to be perfect in every area of our lives. It's not about perfection. It's about living a life that you're showing up and you're being responsible and taking ownership. When you honor God, He will give you the grace to make up the space of every area of your life. So you might not be able to do it perfectly, but whenever you're honoring God and giving Him your best, He makes up the difference in your life. So create a God-centered routine. If you're watching and you're a woman of faith, you're creating your routine not just out of what my great goals are for the year or my selfish ambitions. I'm creating my routine around a faith-filled, God-centered life. So that means in that morning, you're starting your routine. Start with faith first. Say, I'm getting up early and I'm going to devote 5 minutes to prayer, 10 minutes to Bible reading. I'm going to take 5 minutes and just sit in God's presence with praise and worship on. It doesn't have to be like 3 hours. I think we get into the mindset that if I'm going to create a God-centered routine, I have to have 3 hours of time to spend with God. No, start where you're at. Start small with what you have and God will bless it. And then prioritize with purpose. Identify what are your 3 main responsibilities. What are the three main hats that you wear or the roles that you play in life? And prioritize everything around those roles. Maybe you enjoy something, but it's not a priority right now in your life. You might have to say no to some things, and that's okay. If you're going to get super productive with your time and create routines and be intentional, you're going to have to say that N word, which is no. And so you want to ask God, how can I honor you in the roles that you have given me? How can I give all of myself to the priorities that I feel like you're putting on my heart in this season? And let me just emphasize that in this season, because your seasons will change and your priorities will shift, and you have to be flexible with that. Just came out of a season that maybe some of you are walking through, taking care of an elderly parent. And my priority in that season, my role in that season had to shift. There were some things that had to restructure themselves for what life demanded of me, how I could honor God through caring for a parent in that season. And that's okay. God will give you grace to do it, but you have to recognize it as a priority, or it'll just present itself as a distraction or something that's frustrating you. You say, no, this is required of me. God's called me to this. I'm going to set this as a priority, and I'm going to structure my life around this. Next, we want a time block for balance. There's no such thing as perfect balance at all, but you can set and time block your life in a way that brings somewhat of a balance to make sure that you're not too far out of whack, that you don't just say whatever, I'm escaping from all my responsibilities and I'm just doing what I want to do. No, you're time blocking so that you're making sure you're getting the things done that you need to get done, the things that you want to get done, and the things that other people are counting on you to get done. And so you time block your time. I have great time blocking PDFs, but basically it's just breaking down your week into a place where you're saying, okay, this is how I'm going to structure, and I'm going to cut and paste the different things that I have to do. So you can start with your big things that you have to get done in the week. You can put those into place, things that never change. Maybe it's church. Maybe it's family day on Saturday. Maybe it's laundry day on Thursday. Whatever that looks like, putting those big things in the week. And then you want to add according to your priorities to that time block. What it does is it helps you to have a sense of mental relief that you're not obsessing all week. Like, I didn't get to the laundry. I didn't get to the laundry. What is that doing to you? That's making you feel like you're failing, you're overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. But if I've time blocked and I say, no, on Thursdays, that's the time that I have allotted that I do my laundry, then it takes the stress and the weight of that off of me, and I can function fully and be fully present in the other areas that God has called me to. So you can time block your week, time block your day, to where you know this section of time you're allotted to clean your house, to play with the kids. Yes, time block so that you have undivided attention with your children. Plan on purpose. When you start to time block your day, if you don't know how to do it, there's so many resources that can help you do it, but you're just assigning your time, something that you're doing that day. You're not letting your time talk to you. You're assigning your time and talking to it and saying, this is what you're going to do during this time. I laugh all the time because I time block for my week on Sundays, and then Monday through Saturday, I know what I'm doing. It's like Joie already pre-telling Joie what she needs to do that day in a way that's removed from the feeling of the moment. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that. No, it's time blocked. So I'm going to discipline myself to let discipline decide and do what a predetermined version of me already time slotted for me to do, to be responsible, to take responsibility in my life. You can time block any area of your life: family time, self-care time, tasks and household chores you have to do. Time block work or ministry or meeting with friends. Just give it an assignment in your calendar. Number 4 is declutter your to-do list. That you have to really start to take everything through that faith filter, knowing that you have that not only a responsibility to the things God's called you to, you have a responsibility to God. So you want to be able to be wise about what you say no to. And we talked about that, having the courage to say no to some things in our lives. So as you start to implement some of these things, as you start to plan intentionally, as you start to take what God has called you to do serious and take responsibility for it, you're going to see that 24 hours, it stretches so much and there's more purpose in it. I want you to walk into a year of purposeful living, that God doesn't waste anything. And so I don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste my day. I don't want to waste my days wishing things were different, wishing I was in a different season, wishing I was more productive, wishing I was somebody else that I saw on social media. I want to seize the now. I want to live in the now. And I want a revival of responsibility to hit my everyday 24 hours. What are you going to do with it? I'll talk to you soon on the Joie Miller Podcast. Next week, we are going to be talking about vision and goals. Don't miss it.